Yeah, I don't think nonprofit should be competing against private enterprise.
I agree. Right, it's a nonprofit.
Good evening and welcome to the Common Council meeting, April 26, 2011. This is our, we're a little bit late starting tonight. Our committee of the whole ran over. We had a good discussion tonight, and we thank the people that were here to listen to us. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Anderson.
Present.
Riley.
Here.
Lottie.
Here.
Jarvis. Here. Fowler.
Here.
Fernsler. Here. Sedlacek.
Present.
Hanson.
Here.
Thank you. Will please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's Committee of the whole, Common Council meeting. Next item on the agenda, item 3, is the acceptance of the regular minutes of the this should say the reorganization minutes, not regular minutes.
Correct, Mayor.
Of April 19th, 2011. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the organization meeting held April 19th, 2011.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second, Alderman Fowler.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is the audience portion where we ask the audience to address the council and tell us what's on your mind. This is where you get to talk and we get to listen. And tonight we have a few people who have signed up. First on the list is Tom Slater. Tom, would you come forward and talk to the council? Thank you.
I am president of the Plymouth Arts Center, and I'm here asking or requesting that you consider a Class B license for us for a number of reasons. Number one, our revenue comes from our visitors, and the liquor sales would help us support the Arts Center, which is a community organization. Also, we have over 150 events a year with over 20,000 people coming through our doors each year, and we're open 6 days a week. And we have seating for over 200, so we fill in a few blanks there. Quite honestly, art centers are quite good at providing liquor to their guests. I mean, example, John Michael Kohler Art Center, the Stephanie Weil Center, the Performing Arts Center in Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Art Museum, all these places serve liquor. This is part of the normal procedures for an art center during intermission breaks of theater performances and art openings and what have you. Now, quite honestly, we would only need a Class C license, but that requires a full-time restaurant with wait staff and the major source of income coming from a restaurant, so we don't qualify for that. So we're forced into the Class B. With the ones coming available, I would like you to consider the Plymouth Arts Center as being a recipient of one. First of all, we are not now, or will we be, competitive to other local businesses with liquor sales. That's not our purpose in life. We bring in thousands of people to Plymouth each year, a number from out of town, which is good for local business. Since our beginning in 1994, our growth has been year on year over 20%, and this is we're successful because we serve the community. Typical visitors to the PAC and our scheduling are not conducive to alcohol abuse, minimizing any disturbances to the decorum of downtown Plymouth. Our ability to serve the needs of Plymouth relies on revenue generated by our events. Our planned renovation and expansion will draw more people to Plymouth. So for those reasons, I would be very grateful for your consideration for our request for a liquor license, Class B. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Next person that has signed up tonight is Martha Roche. Martha?
I'm here on behalf of the library, being the library director, just to update you as council members on the staffing that's happening at the library. Most of you probably know that the library is governed by Chapter 43 of the Wisconsin statutes, so we're run a little bit different as far as personnel goes than other city departments. So to keep you in the loop and keep you informed about what's going on, I thought I would just present what's been happening lately. Chapter 43 has the library board hiring a director and then authorizing the director to hire needed staff. Recently, I have received a resignation notice from one of our part-time library aides. She works approximately 17 hours a week. She resigned this month, and so I brought that up at the April library board meeting, informing members of the resignation and the subsequent vacancy. I am aware of the city's hiring freeze, did take a look at that resolution to make sure as we were discussing this, we were covering points that are covered in the resolution. So I want you to know that I know that, just so that you don't think that we're operating outside of what resolutions have been passed by council. We do keep those in mind as we do our business as a library board. So I looked at the resolution, went through some of the qualifications and some of the points that are listed in there for having the personnel committee look at exceptions to the hiring freeze, so that as I presented this to the library board, they would know that we looked at this as we were dealing with this whole issue. The library board did approve filling the vacancy at their April 4th meeting. Factors that we looked at that went along with the resolution had to do with the need for staff because of increased library usage. Our usage in 2010 was an increase over our 2009 by 1.8%. Last year, council did approve 15 additional hours for library staffing. So at this point, if we needed it then, we certainly need it now because we're still setting circulation records, if not other records. And just as a point of reference, currently, users at the library number 18 per hour in the building almost all day as an average. So we're a city department that gets used quite a bit. So the need was there to fill this vacancy of 17 hours a week. We also looked at the budget. When I looked at the budget, this person will be starting at a lower salary than the one that had resigned, so we would be saving some money there. The impending 5.8% Wisconsin retirement payment would save the city money, so on that would be something that we know is coming down the line, as well as the wage freeze that looks like it's going into place sooner or later. This part-time position only has the benefits of the Wisconsin retirement contribution and life insurance, so there's no other benefits that would be costing the city more money for filling this vacancy. So those are the issues that we looked at, so we would be hiring to fill this vacancy, and I just wanted to inform you of that and let you know that that's the way that we're proceeding with this, since, as I said, we're handled a little bit different and we don't have to go through some of the same channels because of 43 that some of the other departments do for the city. So this is just kind of an informational thing, and I guess that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Next person sign up tonight is John Rohr. Did I mutilate that? Rory, thank you. John, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pullman and the council. Maybe a lot of you have heard about the trend or even phenomena that's going across the U.S. with allowing backyard chickens. You know, many cities are getting them little by little as time goes on, and we would like to find out how we can have that ordinance change in the city as well. Back in early January, there was in the perspective in the review, somebody had written about the the Plymouth Chair Company in Plymouth, and then how the Plymouth Rock symbol was on those chairs and just how important chickens were, you know, back in those days. And at the end of that article, they talked about, you know, who will be the first to bring the chicken back. So I think me and some others would like to see that happen as well. So whatever the next step is for us to have that be a possibility, I'd like to be heard, and others as well.
Okay,
So,
thank you very much, John.
you.
Appreciate that. Next person that signed up is Dave Kostelik.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I just wanted to
say that I support John 100% in this, getting the chicken back to Plymouth, and just want all you to know that I think it would be a great benefit for the city, and I'm sure there's a lot of residents out there that would definitely enjoy having them back in the city. So just want to let you know that we'd like to address the council on this issue and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Next person that signed up is Frank Barth. Frank, you're gonna be talking later. Okay. We won't make you sign up for the second one. And the last person that signed up is Diane Gilson. Diane?
Hi.
Good evening. My apology for asking you to leave into closed session before. You didn't know we were in closed session, so
No.
thank you for coming back.
That's okay. I just wanted to start out by saying that I'm the manager for the bar manager for the Eagles Club. And as some people know, I've been trying to get a Class B liquor license. And in consideration of the review of the municipal code regarding alcohol licensing, and keeping in mind, I would like to begin by saying our motto is people helping people. I understand we have an ordinance that states nonprofit organizations need not apply, and that if you give the Eagles Club one, the VFW and the American Legion will want one. I talked to Dick Buchholz from the VFW, and he said they had looked into it, but it wasn't worth the hassle with trying to have bartenders all the time, and because it costs too much. I also talked to David Needfeld, who is with the American Legion, and he said they had looked into it also and decided they could not afford it. I would like to mention some of the things that set us apart from these organizations. First of all, they are exclusive. I cannot belong to either one of those clubs, nor can many other people, because of not having been in the service. Also, they are only open for special events, and at that time, then and only then, are they open to the public. We are open 5 days a week and open to the public all the time. All of our profits go back into the community. In the past, we have donated to many different places. For instance, benefits for the needy, Easter egg hunt, fireworks and picnic, Oktoberfest, Adopt a Highway, Valley Manor, bingo, do the staging for the parades, sponsor poor children all over the world, give People Helping People awards, large letter books to the library, Love Lights, Gift of Life, Christmas gifts to Rocky Knoll, food baskets, Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, Safe Harbor, Habitat for Humanity, Fire Department, Alzheimer's, Cancer Fund, Heart Fund, Kidney Fund, Diabetes Fund, Make-A-Wish, Child Abuse, RAINS Program, build ramps for needy people, provide a place for volleyball league, high school drug program, youth center, big brothers and sisters. We also have a scholarship fund. If we could generate more money, we could help more than just one person go to college. These are just some of the things we do and could do a lot more if we had the funds. We lose a lot of business because we serve beer and wine coolers only. We have lost our pool and dart league because of it. People come in and order mixed drinks, and when I tell them we don't serve liquor, they get up and leave. And of course, people around town, including our own members, know we don't have one, so they don't bother visiting our establishment. I can't think of one Eagles Club in the state who only serves beer and wine coolers. It stands to reason the more we take in, the more money goes back into the community. I understand another reason for the ordinance is that it would hurt the local establishments. We have talked to many of them, and they don't believe we will hurt their business. They also agree we should be able to obtain one. I have been told you have 3 licenses in reserve in case some big concern would like to open up a large restaurant. I find it hardly unlikely that there would be that many large restaurants or such who would want to come into Plymouth just looking at how many have in the past years. In my opinion, if we were to have a license, there would also be more revenue for the city, and in these times of scarce money, I would think Plymouth could use all the revenue they could find. Can you imagine how many more people could benefit from our club if we had more revenue? I'm sure almost everyone in this room either has a relative or friend or knows someone who has benefited from the work of the Eagles Club has done. Who knows, we could possibly even help raise money for that rail line you want to bring in between here and Sheboygan Falls. In closing, I would hope that you would take a good look at all the good that can come out of our having a liquor license, that you would help and not hinder us, and would consider changing or amending the ordinance to allow us to obtain a license. Again, our motto is people helping people. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much for coming forward tonight. We appreciate all the comments of citizens that came and addressed the council. We encourage you to do so, and we try to take your opinion into consideration when we form our decisions on the council. So thank you very much. Moving on, I declare a public hearing open, a resolution proposing to discontinue that portion of Prospect Avenue lying east of the east right-of-way of Appleton Street in the city of Plymouth, Sheboygan County, Wisconsin, pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 66.1003. This is resolution number 9. This is a public comment session. Anybody on the council or in the audience does have the right to be heard, and if you want to, please stand, be recognized by the chair, and we'll be happy to listen to your comments.
Mayor, would it be okay if I gave a quick summary as to what exactly is
Yes,
going on?
please do, Attorney Fever.
Just to clarify for the council and for the public, this is a proposed right-of-way vacation for a portion of Prospect Avenue. The best that the Director of Public Works and I can figure is that some 40-plus years ago, there was a subdivision plat recorded which dedicated this portion of Prospect Avenue. At that time, it was contemplated that Prospect Avenue would be a through street, and it would connect to a street called Traxler Street. Also at that time, what we currently know as the GTS parcel on the corner of Appleton and Clifford was many different residential lots. Over time, the nature of the neighborhood has changed, at least as far as that parcel goes. We all know it's industrial now. Traxler Street has been discontinued in the past, so it's no longer feasible for Prospect Avenue to be the connecting street that it was once contemplated as in this original subdivision. There are some utilities that are currently located in that portion that is proposed to be discontinued. Pursuant to state statute, the city would retain its easement rights in those utilities. This is something that still needs to be referred to the Plan Commission. So what you have in your council agenda packets is the resolution that was previously approved by the council on March 8th, which initiated the right-of-way discontinuance process. The Plan Commission will be reviewing this on their May 5th meeting, and then it will be back before the council on May 10th for a final decision on what the council would like to do as far as whether or not to pursue the right-of-way vacation or not.
Thank you, Attorney Fever. I would like to stipulate for the audience that this is on file in the clerk's office and on our website. So if people want to read the full resolution, it is there for their ability to read. So, Alderperson Jarvis.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question and then some comments that I'd like to relay, that some constituents had come to me with some suggestions on this. The first question that a constituent had is whether the land is going to be purchased by GTS. Are we requiring any kind of exchange of funds?
And I think the short answer to that is no. Right now, the city's looking at the discontinuance process pursuant to 66.1003 of the statutes. The city has right-of-way rights, but we don't actually own the land. And there's a statutory process when you go through the discontinuance. The statutes detail what happens to the land after it's discontinued, and it automatically reverts to the lots from which it came.
Okay. And then some of the neighbors have contacted me, and As you know, sometimes the plan commission, when they look at these kind of exchanges, there can be conditions put on the exchange of the vacation. And some of the things that the neighbors brought up was that there was some issues that, there's conflicting uses here. We've got industrial and we've got neighborhood, and I would like to relay some of those issues to the plan commission, and they can decide whether they feel that some of those issues should be placed into the agreement or whether they need to be attached to the approval of the vacation. So with that, that's all I have.
Okay,
Thank
fine,
you.
thank you. Do we have any other comments for the public session? Pete Tryerman, you have a question?
Well, I was just gonna mention that that's going to be on the plan commission agenda for May 5th.
Correct. The public hearing is tonight,
Correct.
and the May 5th is not a public hearing.
No.
The plan commission will discuss it and participants from the audience, but the public hearing is tonight. Alderman Lottie.
When we vacated street right-of-ways in the past, I think one was down on West Clifford Street years ago, many years ago. One was down here on Main Street for Sartori's. There's been a few of them that we vacated, and at that time, when the vacation was approved, the property was split down the middle, and half went to property owners on one side, and half went to property owner on the other side, and there was no cost to those property owners. The property just transferred over to them. That's what happened in the past. Now, whether that changed under state statute, I have no idea.
No, and that's consistent with what I'm saying, is that it automatically reverts to the lots from which it originally came, and if you can't figure that out, then it's split equally among the adjoining landowners. We have a unique situation here in that GTS owns the land on all sides.
We did on Main Street too with Sartori's.
Any other comments? I declare the public hearing closed. Again, this is referred to the Plan Commission at its May 5th meeting, which is next week. Correct, Pete? Correct. Thank you. Moving on, item 6, did we have any communication with any applicants? I had none. Okay. Item 6, A and B will simply take no action on and keep on moving. No names came forward. I would comment to the public that we are looking for 2 alternate positions for the Board of Review and 2 positions for the Committee on Aging. And if there's any interest, by all means, please contact the clerk's office, your councilperson, and/or Director Yurgis. Thank you. Moving on, item 7, approve update of expenses to Exhibit B of the development agreement for the high-speed machine operation trainer facility with Lakeshore Technical College and Plymouth Joint School District, and authorized payment of additional funds in the amount of $17,343 from TID number 4 funds. I'll ask for a brief comment from Director Yurgis, and then the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
There is a letter from the school superintendent requesting the final payment of $17,343. That is the final payment for the project, and that would be part of the original $250,000 commitment. So it's not in addition to the $250,000. It's part of that original $250,000. This will be the final and last pay request from the school district for this project. And in total, we're about $1,100 under budget from the original $250,000 project. And so this is coming from TIF 4 funds, from the TIF 4 fund balance account, and this will close out that project.
Thank you, Director Yurgis. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I move to approve the expenses from TIF 4 funds in the amount of $17,343.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second discussion. I think we're expecting this to open up now for sure in the fall semester of the Plymouth School District that starts after our county fair in the city. A welcome opportunity not only for the school and LTC, but also for the community and the businesses that it'll serve. And this is called Shovel Ready, ladies and gentlemen. 2 years in the making, but we're pleased that it finally is happening. And we thank everybody for their participation in this absolutely fantastic opportunity in our midst to continue the training and education of not only students, but those who have lost jobs and are retraining and so on. I think this is a first of its kind, and we're certainly setting the pace in Plymouth, Wisconsin. Clerk will call the roll.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item 8, discuss an action regarding 2011 CURB, C-U-R-B, debt offering for Plymouth Utility Operations Center and TID number 6 project costs. This is item that we discussed in the COW, and maybe Director Yerges can give us a quick 5-second summary on that, and then we'll go from there.
Again, you have the summary from Ellers, which totals a net issue size of $7,335,000. Alderperson Jarvis suggested decreasing the amount borrowing for the utility building. And so we just need to get it to a point tonight where we have consensus to the dollar amount that we will be borrowing for this project.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the estimated project costs and financing plan with a change to the utility building, reducing the amount of $5,150,000 down to approximately $4,635,000, which would be about $515,000 less, another 10% off.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first and a second to adjust the financing from the illustrated 90-10 down to approximately 80-20. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair will entertain discussion. Alderman Lottie?
Mr. Mayor, I can go with this amount per Director Yerges's comments that the $500,000 will not affect the reserve fund that much. I still have some concern about the TIF. Using reserve funds in the future years from that TIF could total $2 million. I have some reserve about that, you know, but I can go either way on it. If it comes in that this motion passes, is fine. If not, I'll go with the full amount. Thank you.
Any other discussion? I will only make the comment that in the most recent past, year or 2 years, we have been very fortunate to have the reserves in the reserve account when situations arrived and we needed to make significant large purchases. One of that illustrated is the generator for Johnsonville. That was a very significant purchase, just short of $1 million. We also had the utility truck. Because we had reserves, we could take advantage and execute situations very beneficial to us. I think you have to be very careful running reserves down, and as Director Yerges indicated, we will be tapping into those on a loan fee basis for the next couple of years, and I don't think it's a good thing to run those down significantly. And I do think this 80-20 is running us a little too tight. You borrow money when money's cheap. You pay off debt when money is expensive. Right now, we're in a good position both financially and the interest rate is there, I believe it's in our best interest to do the 90-10 and give us the greatest flexibility here. Any other comments? Alderman Hanson, then Alderperson Jarvis.
Reverend, will this affect, if we do the 10%, will it affect our bond rating in any way?
John, can you answer that? Or Director Yurgis? You can both take a stab.
What is the question again, if you go to the 20%
We
reduction?
seem to go to the 10%, because we're at, or is it 20%? Yeah, we go to 20%.
The
Will that
motion is
affect our-
20.
Our loan bond
It will
rating.
not help your bond rating, if that's the answer to your question. It'll help your bond rating to keep those reserves as high as possible. It would help your bond rating if you borrow for the full amount versus borrowing for 9%. You can keep the reserves at the highest possible level. You can, the money, we're at all-time low on the interest rate. If we're gonna make a decision to borrow, it's a good time to do it. To come back in a few years and to try to pick up any shortfalls in borrowing, the probability of interest rates may not be as low as they are right now.
Do you have an idea what degree it would affect it? Maybe you can't say that, but
I'm not a bond rating agency, I can't tell you that, but I have gone through where we raised our reserves up and we saw our bond rating be advanced to the next level. And that was, it's called bond rating upgrade, and that was great to be in that position. You got cash in the bank, reserves in the bank, the bond ratings view you very more favorably, and those that loan money to you are more tempted to give it that, advance the loan to you at a lower interest rate. So, I'm sorry to say that, those that have money get a better deal than those that don't have money.
one other question, if I may.
Director Yurgis, did you want to comment on that?
No, I
question?
mean,
Okay.
well, the only comments is, again, yes, I think we all know that it's gonna cost more to borrow money at a later date. And so there is some degree of truth that borrowing more now, at a cheaper rate would be, and use cash reserves for other purposes in the future could be a strategy for the city to lowering costs in the future. So that is one consideration. Going back to November or December 2010, we talked about borrowing approximately 90%. Decreasing it to 80%, is that gonna make a huge difference? I don't think so, but certainly, it's cheaper to borrow money now than in the future, so, there is some discretion there.
Alderman Hanson?
And does it affect the city's bond rating, or is it strictly the
No.
utilities?
The city is only as good as what the utilities is the answer. If we didn't have the utilities rating, we wouldn't be where we are. They are our ace in the hole. And every time we have a bond rating, sitting on the phone, that's a good way to say that. Talking on the phone with Ehlers and Clerk Huberty, we've had John and Howard in the room, and those conversations come in. They continually talk about the position that the utility is in and how that shores us up. They also comment that if it wasn't for the utility, we would be hurt because we are so concentrated in the cheese business. This gives us an offset to that concentrated cheese industry, which the bond company holds against us, even though it's very beneficial. That's their way of doing things, we can't change it. But those two comments always come out in the discussions, and we need strong reserves. That's something that's always commented on, and I don't know, John, how long we've been A2. We weren't that years ago, and we are now, so it's definitely a plus.
I don't recall.
Yeah. Alderman Lottie?
Excuse me, I won't have the next.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did
Thank you,
say
Mayor.
Alderperson Jarvis.
While I understand what you're all saying, I'm gonna go back to that study that we had undertaken.
And they said that had an extremely robust cash reserve. But I want to make the example that it's probably 99 percentile, and it's around probably $8 million. And I think that taking $1 million approximately from that, I don't think that's going to affect the bond rating. I'd like to get a distinct answer on that if we have time. But I think that, you know, that's true that we can get money cheap right now, but I think there's some principle to it all, that we try to save some money for our ratepayers at this time. You know, $50 here or there, it means a lot to some people, and I think this is one way we can try to give back to the taxpayer, or the ratepayers of Plymouth. Thank you.
Alderman Lottie.
My concern, going at Alder Jarvis's comments, when that study was done, I don't know if the study group took in consideration that our TIF District 4 is gonna go in the red, and we would be borrowing money from that reserve to offset those payments in that TID. And that's where I have my biggest concern, is you have two choices. You either take reserve from utility, or you levy for the payments. Now, if you run that reserve down too low, and now you're gonna have TIF, you're gonna have to levy for it on the tax roll. So then the whole thing goes on the city of Plymouth. If you run your reserves and you have to raise your rates if you run them too low, and you have to raise your rates for the ratepayers, that goes over a large area, a broad area compared to just the city of Plymouth. So, you know, I have some reservations both ways, you know, but boy, I get a little concerned. And I say, I don't know if that study group took into consideration the TIF district taking money from that reserve to pay the TID on TIF 4. So that's where I run some concern on it.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll on, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Alderman Zlotchek.
I'm just trying to get the numbers straight, and what's the utility building total cost? What's it gonna cost to build a building,
The
I guess?
estimated cost is 5.7 million, with a construction cost of $5,058,295, as approved for Mike Koenig Construction, $230,000 for design, construction, estimating contingency, and $436,800 for soft costs, which include the architect fees and various studies and permits. So the total, with those three elements, the total cost is $5,725,000 is the estimated.
Okay, so 5.7 million.
Correct.
So 10% is 570,000, and 20% is
$1 million.
One.
140.
140.
$1,140,000. I don't know, you know, you've got, you know, Alder Lottie's concern, which is a big concern about the TIF districts, and Alder Jarvis's, you know, concern, and I, you know, I'd like to take 2 million, you know, if we could, but I'm not sure that would be a very smart thing. I'm just wondering if we could just cut it down a little and say $1 million. You know, the utility puts in $1 million and then we finance the rest. It's only $140,000 difference, but that's just a suggestion.
When we originally were talking, and the project was $7,248,000, the estimated project 10% was $725,000. So that's what the 10% originally came from. So the 10% is 725 versus the 570, because the construction bids came in low. The 725 went to 5.
Alderman Lottie.
Amend the motion to 725,000.
Alderman Lottie, and then we'll come back to amending the
I would
motion.
like to ask a question. On the purchase of the land, which Alder Zlotchek and I opposed at that price, was that taken from our reserve, from our utility reserve, or was that borrowed?
Combination of both. We had a borrowing that covered a portion of that
Thank you.
700 was borrowed in a prior bond issue,
Okay.
and approximately 300 was borrowed, or 300 was taken out of reserve.
From reserve.
Now, you want to amend your motion to 725?
Yes.
Does the second agree
Second.
to amending the motion to 725 instead of 80-20?
I second the amendment.
We have an amended motion, seconded. The motion is now 725 rather than 80-20. Any discussion on all the above? Clerk will call the roll.
Lottie,
Can I vote?
Alderman Hanson.
May I clarify what we're voting on? We're voting on just the amendment right now, correct?
That's correct.
And that, what is the amendment?
725.
is for $725,000 to come from utility funds and the rest to be financed in the bond issue. Lottie,
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
The bond issue is adjusted to 725, and Director Yurgis can follow through on that with the recalculation of things rather than a 90-10 or the 80-20. Now, we still have, that takes care of that motion. We still have the discussion and action on the 2011 CURB debt offering for the Plymouth Utilities and TID 6 with that modification.
No, we approved it, and at the next meeting, Phil
Oh,
Costa will
okay.
be here from ours to,
Okay,
with the initial
that's good.
resolutions.
Super. Thank you. Alderman Hanson.
Technically, we voted strictly on the amendment. Now we have to vote on the amended motion. So we move-
That sounds good.
Okay, so we have to vote
Okay,
on-
so now we'll vote on the
Because the main motion said. that we
motion
want 800,000
to
we
go
voted.
ahead with that, yes.
Okay.
And you make that motion?
No, it's already on the floor, but have to just vote on that now. Because what we did is we had an amendment, we had a main motion.
No, we
on-
never had a motion on the primary.
Yes,
Yes, we did.
Versus the main motion.
Have a primary motion
We
for
had a-
discussion.
The first motion was to approve $4,635,000.
Oh, okay, and then that was
And then there
amended.
was- then there
Okay,
was
I stand
amended.
corrected, right.
It was
So
amended,
the
so-
amended was approved for the 725
So now we have to vote on the main motion
of 725.
Well, it's,
No, doesn't that kill the first motion amendment?
I think what your parliamentarian here is saying is that this last vote was just, should we amend it? Everyone said, yes, we should amend it, and so now there needs to be that vote to approve the $725,000.
Okay. Then make a
So,
motion.
so do you make that motion?
That is already on the floor.
Yep.
You just have
So-
to now vote on it.
Okay, we'll vote on what Charlie said.
Oh, wait, excuse me. The original motion wasn't the 725, was it?
Right.
It was the
No.
2010.
It was
no,
80-20.
it was
80-20.
stated that it was
And that was amended.
That was
4,635,000.
amended, so if you, how you can vote on the original motion now, that,
It's not
It's
amended
the-
properly?
It's the amended, it's the amended motion.
Okay, so the original motion was for $4,635,000. And you amended it to take $725,000, so if you take $725,000 off for $5,150,000.
No,
It'll be
no,
off the 5.7.
it's 725,000
Off of
off
that.
of the 5.7 million. So basically, the utility building financing is roughly $5 million instead of the $5,150,000.
Can we all agree on that?
Well, it doesn't.
Well, to be technical, that's the way you have to do it, because
So do we have a motion?
it's there. You just have to vote on that.
Okay,
amended
let's
motion.
have a vote on the 5 million,
we're voting on the
Approximately.
amended motion.
Amended motion, correct.
correct,
All right.
which is approximately 5 million. We got that approximate. Okay, good. Clerk will call the roll.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Motion carried. Now we got that one done. Okay, good. Moving on.
I'll give you the numbers.
Number 9, discussion and approval of WPPI's shared savings loan with Piggly Wiggly. I think I'll call on John McKinnon, our utility manager, to start the discussion.
Thank you. We're a member of WPPI Energy, and as a member, one of the services we enjoy is a shared loans savings program that is offered to our commercial customers for putting in energy efficiencies. And to make the capital layout, sometimes our customers need another tool to achieve the financing to do the capital investment. And a tool that WPPI Energy brings to the table is a tool called this product, which allows a customer, if qualified, to borrow up to $50,000 from WPPI. And then with the structure of the improvement is such that it is calculated out that it will reduce the customer's utility bill. And as what is done is the customer utility bill is frozen at the level that it's currently at, and then with the energy improvements put in place, the customer use less consumption and thus has a lower bill, but the increment of that bill will still be in charge to the customer, and the increment then is brought back and we paid the loan that's issued to them through WPPI Energy. As a member of that, there is a risk associated with that. There's a default on that loan. And that risk is structured to be split between WPPI Energy and the local utility, which is, in this case, the proposed loan to Piggly Wiggly, the $50,000 loan. If the default on day one, we would be responsible for $25,000 credit risk. There is a credit procedure to go through the issue of these loans. WPPI Energy takes the lead on that. They use the services of First Business Bank to go through a credit check and must pass a full credit review before their application for this loan is approved. And I'm pleased to report to you this evening that Piggly Wiggly has passed that credit review. And but I'm not in a position that I can sign off on the loan that we'll stand behind it for 50% default rate. That's needs to be brought to this governing body here, and that's your authority to authorize that to be stood behind. As a formality, it's similar to the revolving loan that you are familiar with and have authorized those in the past. That's kind of the short story of it, and I'm pleased that tonight that this is our first one that we've been able to offer to our customers. WPPI Energy has been doing these for the last 2 years, and this is our first one. So without going into any further details, if there's any particular questions I need to answer.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Alderman Hanson.
John, is there a time limit to this to be completed, or is it like 20 years, or is it, I mean, it just depends on how much is recouped from the energy?
That's correct. There's analysis done on what this energy reduction is going to be done, and then the loan is set up to go over the life of that recapturing. So if the recapture can be done within 10 years, minute that that loan is satisfied, then the customers are released from that agreement, and as the utility bill then drops from that theoretically high bill down to the actual low bill going forward. So if he so that, you know, theoretically, there's a time certain on it, and then it really gets into looking at the bills month by month and making that final determination.
Alderman Hanson.
I move to approve the loan.
Second, Alder Anderson.
Thank you, John. We have a first and a second to approve the terms as outlined. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Slavacek.
So technically, this is like a 0% loan then, basically?
No, it's a low-interest rate loan, and I do not have that paperwork in front of me. I cannot
Frank,
say-
do you have an answer on that?
It's a 2% loan, just to cover.
2%.
So
Thank you.
then,
And it-
2%.
it's a 60-month term, it's a 5-year term.
If I may ask Frank or John, is there a loan document that gets signed?
There's an agreement that gets signed, correct?
Okay. And is that like a WPPI template?
Correct.
I-
So who would sign that, the mayor?
So it'd be all
I'm
part
not
of-
sure in this case, and in other cases where I've done these, it's been the utility manager, but in this case here.
So we would be approving the agreement which implies the authorization utility manager to sign it, which is a normal process that you've done with other utilities, Frank?
It's can differ depending on the community and how,
Okay.
what sort of.
But we would
government
approve
structure
it
they
with the
have, but-
condition of John signing that.
Correct.
Correct. Is that okay? Understood? Okay. Any other question? We had a first and a second, right?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk will call the roll.
Lottie,
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Jarvis. Hanson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item 10, approve request from Community Ed and Recreation Plymouth School District for use of police officers to cover community walk-run event on August 27th, 2011. I would ask Assistant Chief Ringo to maybe make a comment on that, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Sure, I received a request that you should have there in your packet from Wendy Schleiss, the rec coordinator up at the high school for community ed. And just to give you a little history, this isn't a new walk run. They've had this in the past, but I'd say about 90% of it was outside of the city. They'd run from City Park out Crumry to La Ferme subdivision. They'd eventually come back into city, but we were able to handle that with just the 2 squads working the road. We never needed anything extra. They're changing their venue this year where they want to do a 2, 4, and 6 mile run walk, but it's all within, or the majority of it is within the city limits. They're going to be utilizing the rec trail and a little bit outside of our jurisdiction, and it's going to require a full department response. We do budget for events during the year, but this came later in the year, so this is a non-budgeted item. In order to have a full department response, we'd be talking about $1,000 roughly in expenses to cover overtime. So that's why we bring it before the council.
Thank you, Chief. The chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
So move, Alder Lottie.
Second, Alder Jarvis.
We have a first and a second to approve the police officers to assist in covering the roadways for the community walk-run event on August 27th, 2011. Any discussion? We'll start here and then we'll go to Alderperson Jarvis, Alderman Lottie.
Funds to come from where? That would be my
Mr.
first
Mayor,
concern.
Yeah, if I can comment, 2 things. One, I think the council basically has 2 options. One is to designate that the funds are gonna come from the contingency account, or option 2, that if this is a requested service, that we bill the party that is asking for this service. So it's either gonna come from contingency funds, because again, the police department has not budgeted for this event, and it is not part of their budget, so I think it would be unfair to ask that department budget to cover this project when they did not budget for this event. And so it either needs to come from the contingency line item to pay for this, or the cost is passed on to the entity which receives the benefit.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Lottie.
Being that this came and no one budgeted for it, I assume that this, community ed didn't budget for it either. I must just assume that, nobody budgeted for this thing. And I'm thinking, that we should take it from our contingency at this time, is my feeling, and we should inform them that if this is gonna be an ongoing thing every year, that this is only one time we're gonna do it, and they should be looking at funding in their budget for this program they wanna do, so we can bill it to someone and not the total city of Plymouth.
Alderperson Jarvis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna differ a little bit and suggest that we have the event contribute the $1,000. So I would like to, how do I make my amendment? I would like to make an amendment to the
There's
motion.
two ways you can do it. One way is if the person who amended the motion agrees with you, then it's the main motion, but if somebody doesn't agree with you, then somebody else can second the amendment. So that's why we had to do it different this last time.
Okay, is this the time for me to make the amendment, Mayor? Could I
It would
make
be
that?
if that's your wish, sure.
Okay, I would like to.
We're in
make
a roll tonight.
Yeah, I would like to amend the motion to include that the overtime or the payment of approximately $1,000 come from the event.
Do we have a second to that amendment? Being no second, the amendment fails. We're back to the original discussion. I do have a question. Chris, you mentioned that they've expanded this from the original activity and where 2 officers could now handle it. When you say a full contingent, what are we talking about?
Well,
4?
Looking at the map, there's about 16 corners that would need to be covered by officers. We don't have that many officers. At that time, we're gonna have 1 out on family medical leave. We're still 1 officer short, so we're gonna do some finagling. We'll be able to work with it if it's approved, and get everything covered so that people run across, intersections and things like that safely. That's our main concern.
But I mean, you didn't have that problem in the past.
No, because they
And-
would, right,
and-
we would have an officer lead them from City Park north on Crumry, and then they were into the county, and they were able to watch themselves, stay on the proper side of the road, and there weren't really a whole lot of issues. And as the group, if you know how kind of a run works, as the group gets further out, especially on a 6-mile run, they spread out, and then you don't have a group together. They're more, in a single file line and spread out a little ways, so then it's not as big of an issue. So towards the end of a race or an event like this, there's a little less concern just than that initial start.
So it starts at 8:30 a.m. Is there an estimate on the slowest person completing it? I mean, where are we locking ourselves in for?
I'm guessing.
Is this crawl, walk as well?
At least an hour.
I mean, a couple hours or whatever?
Minimum, you're gonna have to pay the officers based on the contract a minimum of 2 hours. They've got a 2-hour minimum. So the overtime's gonna be for that. If we end up there longer than 2 hours, which, different run walks in the past, it's always been right around that 2-hour mark. We should be good. There's always that potential it could go over,
Okay,
which would increase the cost.
okay, thank you. Alderman Lottie?
Mr. Mayor, the reason I made a motion to take it from the contingency fund is that's what our contingency fund is for. It's for unforeseen circumstances that do arise. And that's why I would like to, in my discussion, say that I'm willing to do it this time, but these people should be notified that this is not an ongoing event that the city is gonna pay for every year. And being that it's covered in August, I don't think they budgeted for it either. To be fair to them, I think we can handle it this year, but they should be notified that it's not gonna be something the city does every year.
Alderman Hanson?
There's another possible solution, is we could say that you have to hold it like you did last year and come back the budget for next year on it. So that's another possibility that we could do with it. I'm in favor of these type of events, but that's another possibility we could do with it too.
Question.
Alderman Fernsler?
Is this the one that the Professional Women's Club used to do for years? This is a completely different new one?
Correct. The Professional Women's is the Cheesehead Chase.
Yeah.
Which is run on that Saturday in June when they have the Mill Street Festival. This is totally separate. This is a new entity wants to do this
And this is run by the high school?
through community ed. I think it's to celebrate the start of the new school year. Part of the road, is my understanding, they want to showcase or run past the schools in the district. Ender Road has been somewhat changed from their original version. Also included, I think, the Catholic school, and then it really added people on, because you were crossing Western Avenue and Main Street, things like that. So they did amend their route, but that is the main reason behind it. They want to run past some of their schools, and kickoff is the fall school season.
So basically, we have no idea how long this is gonna take.
Well, I don't know, you have a 2, 4, and 6 mile run. It's my understanding it's not a walk, so you're not gonna have walkers, which walk on the sidewalk. A run is normally in the roadway, but they're still crossing intersections. Good runners, I think, probably running a 4.5 minute mile.
Something like that.
Jim, how fast can you run?
No, they're running. They're not using a motorcycle.
Right, 10-minute miles.
You'll have
10
6
miles.
miles in 2 hours.
You'll have 10-minute miles.
On the average, I think.
Well, I'm saying you'll have people who run a 10-minute mile.
Okay.
What is the other 80%?
Clerk Huberty?
A large portion of this route is in the town, so we're covering town roads also?
No, we're not having,
Okay,
we're working out those particulars with the sheriff's department. They're
Okay.
leaving and heading north on County Trunk-E. They'll need, that's a town road, they'll need sheriff's department. I'm assuming they're gonna need county board approval.
so
because
they
there's
haven't
just a
done that
shoulder.
though.
No, they haven't done that yet. I emailed back and forth with Wendy actually today and explained to her and gave her some contacts of people they need to contact at the county level. So if it's approved here, she still needs to get it through at the county level because they are dually in some county and state highways.
I mean, is there any way we could split that with them this year instead of, you know, all us or all them?
Split what?
Instead of the $1,000, split it 50/50?
We pay what our people worry about. We don't pay what the county does.
Well, no, the 1,000 is our cost. Am
Yeah.
I correct on that?
We're looking at
So-
10 officers.
So I'm saying we would pay
10
500 of
$50
1,000,
10 cents an hour times.
Who pays the other 500?
community ed.
Oh, that would be fine.
I'm just asking that question.
It's up to the council, but that's your decision.
I can amend my motion to say that we would pay half the cost, $500 of the cost towards this.
Projected
run.
cost.
Projected cost, yeah, $500 towards the projected cost.
We have an amendment to the motion. Does anybody want to second the amendment of?
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a second to, see, now we're getting back there, Charlie. Get your book out. We-
That's not the original second, is it, though?
We,
Makes a difference.
we have an amendment to the motion
Well,
to cover $1,000, and now it's 500.
Well, is that is the motion justified?
I would suggest that if you amend the motion, it should be half of the cost, because the 1,000 is a minimum.
We don't know.
Could be $1,500.
We don't know what the cost
Should state a percentage.
That's right.
50%.
Do you want to say 50% not to exceed?
Sure, I can do that.
And
Not to
pick a
exceed.
number not to exceed.
Not to exceed $1,500. 50% not to exceed $500, that's 50% of $1,000. If it goes over, they're gonna have to pick it up or shorten the route.
Okay, does the
Run faster, won't it?
does the
Run
second,
faster.
does the second agree to the amendment of 50% not to exceed $500?
Yes.
Okay, discussion on the amendment to the motion to pay
And,
not to exceed $500, 50% not to exceed
and that
$500.
it's coming from contingency.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And coming from contingency.
And
Okay.
only this, within the city limits.
And, right.
And you gotta run faster.
We won't put that on the motion. Okay. Alderperson Jarvis.
How many races do we cover? What are you budgeting for right now?
Well, the events we're budgeting for is the Cheesehead Chase, and then our parades. We have Christmas parade, homecoming, along with homecoming week, if we pull people in early, the homecoming parade, I should say. We also have
Memorial
Memorial
Day.
Day parade. In the past, up until last year, was the 4th of July festivities up at the park. In the past for there, they ran a couple nights. Now they just have fireworks, and that's limited to compared to what it was.
And how much do you say average you budget per each event?
We budgeted for those 5 events, $5,200. And once again, it all depends upon the size of the event and the route and how many officers happen to be working that day on that shift. It all depends on the time. You know, like homecoming parade, we may have 3 people scheduled because we don't allow vacation on the parade day. So then we're calling in less. But on the average, it's at least $1,000 on every event, that sometimes a little more. Homecoming parade, we may have a couple officers work more than 2 hours because there's a setup roughly about an hour before the event. Usually, parade starts at 4, they usually start setting up about 2:30. We have officers assigned to that on those corners, and then we get the floats back to the high school, the amount of traffic. And depending upon, each event has its own issues that come up. There may be several officers, meaning 2 or 3 that may work 3 hours. So I can probably say it's gonna be a minimum of $1,000 for any of those events to $1,200 or $1,300.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
We don't know whether they're charging for this race. I mean, community ed doesn't usually do anything for nothing. No. So they may be charging.
I would assume they're charging something.
She's at Chase.
I mean, it's always.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Unless you wanna hold off tonight's decision and invite a representative community ed to come in and answer questions, allow you to share their information on their ability to pay,
Table.
that type of thing.
He just withdrew his motion.
We do have time.
I'm just gonna
We-
withdraw my motion.
Do we have a motion to table?
You can do that if you'd like.
I would move to table until we get more information.
We have a motion to table, we have a first and a second. Clerk will call the roll.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Sedlogic.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried. No, that ought to be a good one to bring back. Okay, moving right on. Number 11, approved 2010-11 tavern operator license as listed, previously approved by Deputy Chief Ringo. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second first.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 12, utility reports. We have the manager's report for April 2011. Item B, list of vouchers, March 2011. Authorized payment of March vouchers. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the March vouchers and authorize payment of same.
So move, Alder Lottie.
Second, Sabacek.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Sedlogic.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item C, collection statement for March 2011. Item D, uncollectible accounts, April 2011, in the amount of $3,798.72. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the uncollectibles for the month of April 2011 in the amount of $3,798.72.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second first.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Fowler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlogic.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item E, 2010 Annual Report of Plymouth Utilities. Item 13, other business, minutes acknowledged for filing, Safety Committee, February 9th, Community TV. Community TV.
It's a March finance report only.
Oh, March
Not
Finance
at the-
Report only, okay, thank you. Mill Pond Committee, April 6th. Board of Appeals, April 7th. Downtown Revitalization, April 7th. Committee on Aging, April 12th. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So be it.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.